Welcome to our Omud Yomi Shir. We're following the Dirshu cycle, and we are today in Masechet Shabbos Daf Mem Hey Omud Aleph. But right now we're in the very bottom of Mem Daled Omud Beis. So we're learning now about the halachos of Muktzeh. In halachos of Muktzeh, there are primarily two opinions that follow us through Muktzeh. There's more, but mainly two opinions. And that is, this is Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon is known to say that there is no Muktzeh. While Rabbi Yehuda says that there is, it doesn't mean Rabbi Shimon will tell you can pick up whatever you want. And actually today we're going to see it Mefurash, that Rabbi Shimon holds of Muktzeh sometimes. But Rabbi Shimon does hold, there are certain levels of Muktzeh that Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold of and Rabbi Yehuda does. For example, we see, and we will see that if somebody sets aside something, not for mitzvah reason, not for issa reason, for a secular reason, you set aside some food, not use it this Shabbos, but use it later, a month later, whatever. Yeah, let's say the honeycomb that you normally eaten by the bees, and you set it aside for the bees, even though you may eat it yourself. You set it aside as bees food. You cannot, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you cannot change your mind and take it in the middle of Shabbos. Why? Because you're Muktzeh. You set it aside from your mind, right? And Mashenk and Rabbi Shimon would say no problem, ein Muktzeh. Another nafkamina we saw regarding Migudis Katol ben Moshe. So we just saw that now in this previous Amud. Migudis Katol ben Moshe, such a famous rule. Rabbi Shimon, the more we go along, we see he believes in it less and less. Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold of the concept of Migudis Katol ben Moshe, which means, let's say something was set aside ben Moshe to be used, let's say a candle that's supposed to be burning, right, on Shabbos, and now that candle, will finish its job. In other words, it's going to burn for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. How much oil would you put in the candle? So after 3 hours, when the candle is put out, according to Rabbi Shimon, you're allowed to use the candle again. Of course. Why? Because although during Ben Moshe there was lit, there was burning, but Lamaisa, that's all very nice, but since you knew also that you're going to have the candle unlit at the end of the business, you also had that in your mind, and therefore it's not Muktzeh. You can afterwards use it. Rabbi Yehuda and other Tanoim say no, Migudis Katzoi. The way it is Ben Moshe, it's set now, this is like a life sentence for this entire Shabbos. That's another difference, which actually Mamish gets us to what we said before, earlier in this Amud. We spoke about, you have a mita, you have a bed that has some money on it. If the money was there during Ben Moshe, then Rav Yehuda quoted Rav to be saying, if you have money, coins, on top of a mita, on a bed, you decided that should be your money drawer, the mita, and now that was there the entire Ben Moshe. According to Rav Yehuda, quoting Rav, that's it. You're not allowed to carry it the entire Shabbos, right? V'hu shelo elo ben Moshe. Why? Migudis katzor ben Moshe. It was there ben Moshe. It's there the whole Shabbos. In your mind, that's it. It's set aside for the whole Shabbos. Even if the money fell or a kid took it in the middle of Shabbos, it's still Muktzeh the entire time. Who is that? Rav Yehuda quoting Rav. And on that, now we're starting to do. Oh, you came just on time. The Rav ki Rabbi Yehuda svirle. Rav that we just quoted believes in Rabbi Yehuda. Yeah, in other words, Rav, the Moira Rav, he holds of Rabbi Yehuda's shita that says Rabbi Yehuda, the Tana, that says once he was there Ben Moshe, that's it. The entire Shabbos, it's sentenced to be Muktzeh. And with that in mind, let's continue. Achinam mistaba. We're starting now today's Amud. Achinam mistaba. That makes sense. The Rav ki Rabbi Yehuda svirle. It makes sense that Rav follows Rabbi Yehuda, as we see that in a different statement of Rav. The Omar Rav says as follows. Before we continue, I want to remind you of what I'm sure you know, that on Shabbos, we all know you can't pick leaves or branches off a tree, Melachas Koitzel. So too, Rabbanan made the Gzera, it's mentioned in Mishnah, in Beitza, Lemedvav Amud Beis, one of the Gzeras of Shabbos, you can't climb a tree, you can't even lean against the tree strongly, you can't, let's say, have a swing, right, and swing off the tree, because you're mishtamish bilan, using the tree is the Gzera of Kotzer. So let's say you have something hanging on a tree, you want to take it from the tree, according to some Rishonim, something hanging on a tree, and you're taking it, you're removing it, even if you do it gently, and you're not going to detach any leaf, but that's also Medin Gzera D'Rabbanan. Some say it's only a problem if you detach and you attach it again, but dealing with the tree on Shabbos is Gzer D'Rabbanan without going into details. Now we're going to see something very interesting when one Gzer D'Rabbanan protects the other Gzer D'Rabbanan. What do I mean? Let's see. D'Omer Rav, menichin ner al gabe dekel b'Shabbos, de'en menichin ner al gabe dekel b'Yom Tov, which means, Rav says as follows. Let's say I have a candle. Yeah, let's say you have a candle that's like hanging. You know, like these Chinese lanterns, you have a candle that's hanging. You want to hang it on a tree. Yeah, I hope you keep the safety rules. Yeah, but you want to hang you're having a nice Suda outside, right? You know, like the light designers, right? You want to have a candle hanging on a branch, on a tree. Are you allowed to do that before Shabbos? Before Shabbos. Says Rav Yehuda Marav, menichin ner al gabi dekel b'Shabbos, which means, what's the chashash over here? The concern over here is not about Muktzeh, actually, very confusing. The concern is about, will I remove the candle off the tree, away from the tree, once the candle is out? And then I'll have a problem of koitzel, of the Gzer D'Rabbanan, of en mishtamshin be'ilan. When would I come to do that? Menichin ner b'Shabbos, there's no problem. If you have your candle lit from before Shabbos, you have a nice time, in the garden, your wife lit Shabbos candles, you have some contraptions to hang it on the tree before Shabbos, On Shabbos, no problem. Why? Because you will not come to remove it from the tree, which is the problem of Koitza D'Rabbanan, Gzer D'Rabbanan. Why won't you? Well, because the candle, after it's out, you're not allowed to touch it and move it. Who says that? Rav Yehuda, Rav Shimon, clearly Rav Yehuda. And ve'en menichi ner al gav dekel b'Yom Tov. On Yom Tov, on the other hand, neiros are not muktzeh on Yom Tov. On Yom Tov, you're allowed to light candles, can even diminish the fire possibly. On Yom Tov, everything to do with fire is much lighter. And therefore, because in Yom Tov, even because the ner is never muktzeh on Yom Tov, what's going to happen? The ner will be put out naturally or so at the end of the day, will run out, right? You will come to remove it for the sake of good order or whatever. You'll come to remove it off the tree. That's a problem of using a tree, right? Some Rishonim say you move it and then remove it again. You may come to lean on it, whatever. And Yom Tov, because there's a kula of muktzeh, that's when one gzer is protecting the other. In Yom Tov, I may remove the candle once unlit because there is no problem of muktzeh. Mimela, that's a chash. They'll come to remove it without realizing and take it off the tree, which is also of itself on Yom Tov as well. Now, the Gemara is just finishing off the raya, the proof. If Rav, who's the author of this Meimra, believes the same as Rabbi Yehuda, holds of Rabbi Yehuda, Haynu Deshani ben Shabbos leYom Tov, makes sense. Well, Shabbos is different Yom Tov. I just explained why. On Shabbos, it's muktzeh after it's put out. On Yom Tov, it's not. If Rav would be like Rabbi Shimon, Mali Shabbos Mali Yom Tov, Rabbi Shimon doesn't care. Why? According to Rabbi Shimon, a candle once out, big party, do whatever you want. You can remove it. So if you can remove it, then you should not hang it on the tree because you may come to remove it. I'm not sure why psychological people are more careful with muktzeh than when using trees. I guess muktzeh people are more oriented into muktzeh. From the age of 0, all you hear is muktzeh on Shabbos. Shaken to move off the tree, maybe people are less into it. That's my answer. I didn't see in the Foshim enough. I mean, I did look, but whatever. Now, continues the Gemara as a question. Is that so? Are you sure that Rav really thinks like Rav Yehuda? They once asked a question from Rav. That's the question of Rav. What was the question? These chaverim are not such good friends. They're mentioned in Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph, and also we mentioned at the beginning of Perek Sheni, the chaverim were very bad people in the times of the Persians, and they had the gzeira that you're not allowed. Sooner, I'm going to translate the sentence soon, but I want to give an introduction. They had this very funny gzeira pro their religion and against anybody else's religion. There was one day or sometime during the year where only in their shrine, only in their mokum tuma, they were allowed to have fire and nowhere else. And sometimes it would fall on Chanukah, maybe always on Chanukah. Now comes the question to Rav. Are you allowed to carry the Chanukiah, the Ner Chanukah, after it's put out, right? And it's Shabbos. It's Shabbos Chanukah. You have a Ner Chanukah that was put out already, that's off, that's out. Are you allowed to carry it and remove it from where? Where do you light your Chanukah candle? Outside. in the chotzer, by the window, they're going to discover you. Even though it's already off, but they're not stupid. They'll see that you have, fresh smell and, leftover oil. You lit the candles now. Oy, 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 naughty Jew, we're going to punish you. Are you allowed, therefore, to carry the Chanukiah, the menorah, nekame chavre, in front of the fear of the chaverim, those going, the Shabbos, if it happens to fall on Shabbos, yeah, Gomerlu, Shapir Dami. And he said, yes. Rav said, yes, you can do it. Hey, what's going on? If he believes in what Rav Yehuda, then even after the candle is out, and you knew it's going to be out, so what? You're not supposed to move candles even unlit after it did its job. That's supposed to move it. You're telling me, so who's Rav with? Rav Yehuda or Rav Shimon? Answers the Gemara, Shasad Chak Shiny. Oh, Shasad Chak is different, as David already guessed. Yeah, Shasad Chak is different. Yeah, Shasad Chak, it's a time of need because we're talking here about big anti-Semites. And the Gemara is going to prove that. The Amr Rav Kana v'Ravashi l'Rav, Rav Kana and Ravashi, close to the medium of Rav, they asked him, Hachi Hilchasa, this you're paskening, is that the halacha really? Is that the halacha to follow in a normal way? Omer lo, no. Kidayu Rabbi Shimon nismachol b'shasad chak. Very famous line, right? Very fashionable nowadays, yeah? It's not what it means, what people say. Kidayu Rabbi Shimon b'shasad chak, which means, I really hold of Rabbi Yehuda. When you start to move the candle after it's out, chas v'shalom, don't do that. Just because you want to leave, you want to have the salon aesthetically nice and clean. No, no, no. The only reason why you're allowed to have it out, meaning remove it with your own hands, is because Rashi defines it as a sakona. Now, the Rishonim explain Rashi doesn't mean sakona as they're going to kill you, because that you're allowed to do anything for that, even the Raisa. We're talking here about sakona, smallman, they're going to hit you, they're going to hate you. It's a sakana, meaning very uncomfortable. You're going to get into real trouble with them, like KGB, I don't know, that kind of thing. They're not going to kill you, otherwise it wouldn't be an issue. Even that level of sakana, for that, you're allowed to move that, relying on Rabbi Shimon, that Rabbi Shimon believes that the candle once out is not muktzeh anymore, only while it's lit, not afterwards. You can rely on Rabbi Shimon in times of chak, when you have these nasty thugs of the Chaverim army coming in, that Khalila, that you can rely on that. We're going to see many more fascinating ideas about muktzeh, according to both Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. Let's say a person, we're going to see also two Tosfos here. Yeah. Let's say you have chitim, grains of wheat, and you started already, you sowed them, you planted them in the ground. Yeah. You have an egg that's under the chicken. The chicken is already, lying on the eggs. Yeah, sitting on the eggs. Mahu. What's the halacha? Which means, assuming that, as I think the Meir Sam Rishonim say, the seeds are not buried in the ground. Yeah, they're still exposed. They're in the ground, but exposed in the furrow. So if I want to, I say, hey, now it's Shabbos. I'm walking into my field. I want to have some of these grains and eat them. Am I allowed to take those chitim that are, what are they now? According to Rav Yehuda, for sure they're also. I set them aside for a different purpose. And also the egg, I set it aside to be what? To be hopefully one day a nice chick. They will grow out of it. They will hatch out of it. Am I allowed to take them on Shabbos according to Rabbi Yehuda? Why wouldn't or will I or won't I be able to do according to Rabbi Shimon? Ki leis le Rabbi Shimon Muktzeh eicha de lo dachye beyodayim. Eicha de dachye beyodayim islay Muktzeh or dil malo ishno. There's a concept called dchia beyodayim, which means, yeah. Every time I give you the example, the wine bottle or the honey, when I just decided that I have a bottle of wine, yeah, that I'm going to use when my daughter gets engaged or when I don't know what, Mashiach comes, whichever one comes first, yeah, then according to Rabbi Shimon, I'm allowed to use it. That's halacha today. I just set it in my mind. I didn't do anything physical, right? The shaken here, I'm actually putting it physically in a place where I'm starting a whole new trajectory for that item. I want those grains now to sit there for a long time until they become beautiful golden tall wheat. I want those eggs to stay there, and it's there, beyodine, physically under the body of the mother chicken because I want her to incubate and sit in it until it becomes a chick, right? So maybe there's a tzad to say d'chia be'edayim isle muktzeh. When my level of setting it aside is serious business of setting aside be'yodayim, it's physical and it's starting now a whole new direction to become a non-grain, to become a non-egg. I want something else at the end of the journey, at the end of the tunnel. And I'm doichid be'yadayim. It's a physical thing. It's in the ground. It's under the chicken. Maybe then even Rabbi Shimon believes that this is considered as muktzeh enough, as setting aside enough, or maybe there's no difference. Yeah. So now look at the Tosfos, unbelievable. Before we continue, look at Tosfos Heicha Dedachye. Tosfos Heicha Dedachye says an unbelievable thing. The afal gav the ner shekovo shari Rabbi Shimon. Afal gav the dachye beyadayim. Excuse me, says Tosfos. What do you mean? When a person lit the candle on Shabbos, I mean, hopefully Friday afternoon, yeah, right? Then what? You're doiche beyadayim. You did a physical action of what? Lighting fire. That's quite physical. Last time I checked, yeah. And you doiche beyadayim. You set it aside, not just by wording it or deciding or saying shtiyot about the bottle of wine. You really doiche beyadayim the candle. And yet, what did Rabbi Shimon say? That it's okay. That it's still not muktzeh after it's out. Answers Tosfos. The awesome shiny. Over there, it's different. Kevin Shekova posek dichui shalo. Aval hachal oilam and dichuin kozman shemonochim sham. Says Tosfos is a very poshut answer. When it comes to the candle, the person knew in advance, when he prepared the candles for his wife and his wife lit the candles, they know that those candles will stay there for 2 or 3 hours and that's it. So it's pre-planned that at some point those candles will again be free of oil and free of everything, and that's fine. The shein can, as I hinted before, when you put the grain in the ground or the egg under the chicken, the original plan, it will be forever there until it becomes something else. I'm planning here a whole golden wheat field, or I want a chicken running around, right? Obviously, it's not like planned to be in a certain amount of time, set amount of time, and then back to normal. And therefore here, there's a question. It's real dichu b'yadayim forever and ever. Maybe even Rabbi Shimon agrees that that's called muktzeh and he can't use it and he can't take it. Answers the Gemara, Omar Lei, so Rabbi Yochanan answered the question, Ein muktzeh Rabbi Shimon el shemen shebaner b'shoshu doilek. Oh, this is important. This is a very, very crucial line here, which was quoted by Tosfos. The only muktzeh Rabbi Shimon believes in is only shemen in the candle, b'shoshu doilek, hoil v'huktzeh mitzvosoi, I stress dafka devov, there's such a girsa, which means only candle, only oil in the candle while it's lit, because you max it for the mitzvah. Rabbi Shimon at this point says only when there are two factors involved, only then Rabbi Shimon believes in muktzeh. Meaning, muktzeh le mitzvosoi, I set it aside for the mitzvah of Glokas Ner Shabbos. And even if I have 100 candles in the house, they're all mitzvah. The more light, the better. Yeah. If it's muktzeh mitzvah, not stam muktzeh for secular purposes, it's muktzeh for mitzvah. Vehuktzeh isuroi, and it's also muktzeh because in order to use the candle, use the oil, I will need to extinguish it. In other words, the thing which I may do by moving it or by taking from it is isur. Yeah. So even if I'm not doing it, it's better set aside because there's a mitzvah involved and an isser involved. Because to use it, you have to start tilting it. If the only kosher way to do something, there's such a type of muktzeh in halacha. If the only way in order to use it, I'll have to be over an isser, that is a muktzeh, according to this stage in the sugi, right? But ner shuagi l'chayr not. If you have a candle on Shabbos, it's not mitzvah. That's why I said what I said. I was careful. On Shabbos, every candle you light is a mitzvah because the more light you have, the better. But your question is a good question. We'll get there later. Look at Rashi because you have to see the Rashi because we said it so many. Rashi is adding 2 words here. Look at Rashi. Ein muktzeh Rabbi Shimon, yeah, bedover haraui, ela b'shemen shemenel sheshodoylek v'chulei. What's Rashi saying? Dover haroi. The Rishonim say dover haroi. I have a note on the side. Rishonim. Remember who? The Rishonim say what's dover haroi as opposed to what? As opposed to muktzeh machmas gufoi. Rabbi Shimon holds that muktzeh machmas gufoi, stones, sticks, money, as we said before. Things that are not kelim, of course they're muktzeh. No, nobody, because I don't have to be maktzeh them from my mind. They're not in my mind to begin with. But shaking a kli, a good thing, like the oil, like the shemen, like the candle, those things, what do we say about them? As long as I was only Muktzeh them because of mitzvah and issur, that's why we say that the Muktzeh according to Rabbi Shimon, right? Now, Tosfos points out Ela Shemen Shebaner. Look at Tosfos Ela Shemen Shebaner. Lav Davka Shebaner. Look at Tosfos Ela Shemen Shebaner. One below Heicha Dedachi. Let me ask you. Rabbi Shimon says, when is it Muktzeh? Only while it's lit, while it's burning. Yeah. Can you take with your pita, use the shemen, right? Shemen Shebaner, and take some shemen, yeah, on your pita, on your challah, because of the oraisa. It's kibui. I don't need Muktzeh for that. Says Tosfos Lav Davka Shebaner. That also mishum mechabe. That's also the oraisa mechabe. Maybe it's mlocha shnetzich lagufa, but it's still close to the oraisa. Kedem the beitza. Mistapkim menacha mishum mechabe. Ela ametaftef miner. Oh, I'm not going to go any further, but Tosfos reminds us of this previous sugya. Rabbi Shimon holds of something very interesting, in which again I never really have, and that is as long as the candle is burning, all the oil in the candle is set for mitzvah. So even the oil that's dripping while it's burning on top, and the one in the bottom is dripping down, then it's considered all is muktzeh l'mitzvah, even the one that's dripped down. Once it's out, then you can start using the oil underneath, as before we saw before. I'm not sure why. That's how it works. I apologize. The sugyas are full of very deep svaras. We do what we can in 40 minutes. Weiter. Frag the Gemara, now let's learn about Sukkot. We'll learn about Chanukah, Sukkot. Frag the Gemara, Veleis l'uktzeh mitzvosoi. Doesn't Rabbi, this is very important now, doesn't Rabbi Shimon believe that uktzeh mitzvosoi alone, without uktzeh isuroi, is also muktzeh? What did we say up until now? According to Rabbi Shimon doesn't believe in muktzeh in many cases. Only if you have two boxes to tick. It's uktzeh mitzvosoi and uktzeh isuroi. There's an isur involved in using it, or potential isur. Only then it's called muktzeh. Otherwise, no. Right? That's what we said. That's a girsa. Doesn't Rabbi Shimon hold that a person, even if there's only one reason of uktzeh mitzvosoi, doesn't he hold that that's bad enough to make it muktzeh? Vatanya, look what it says about sukkah. Sikha kilchoso. It's in sukkah around Dafid Aleph, I think. Sikha kilchoso. The person made the proper schach. Vitra bekromim, he made a lot of noise sukkah. Yeah, he beautified it with kromim, are like colorful clothes, colorful pieces of fabric. Bazdin and Metzorin, these are other fabrics that have embroidery on them. The talaba, and then he's hanging food as noise sukkah, like many people do. Egoizin, nuts, a farsikin, could be peaches or other things. Shkedim, rimoinin, you know these mean in Hebrew. Clusters of grapes. Shibolin, like crowns made out of shibolin, of the stalks of the wheat and barley, all very nice. Yenos, shmanim. How did you hang oil and shemen? In glass bottles, The saltois, yeah, and semolina. Also, this topic, man, ad motzei yom tov achron. You're not allowed to, yeah, let's say I want to have some oil. Let's say, Meshviga should be healthy. In her sukkah, she used to do, like they used to have like Shiva Saminim. Yeah, so with real bottle of oil. So let's say I need some oil on sukkahs. In the middle of Cholamoid, can I take some of the noise sukkah, use it, put it in my hummus, and hang it back on the sukkah? So no, you're not allowed to be mistapik. The muktzeh l'mitzvoso. It's a new type of muktzeh. Muktzeh l'mitzvoso is osir until the last day, until Yom Tov is over. They need nalen a kol ifitnoi. If you made it tonight before, when you hung the kishutim and you hung the noise sukkah before sukkahs, can make it tonight. What's it tonight? It says in Mishnah Berurah, "Eini boidel mem kol ben hashmoshes." Making it tonight that really the whole ben hashmoshes. I'm not boidel. I mean to use the oil. Then it's okay. Oh, so you see? Excuse me. You see, Frektor Shlakish, that what? You see that really, even if there's only one factor of what? Of muktzeh mitzvah, so it's enough to make it muktzeh. And now umimaydu Rabbi Shimon he. It's really Rabbi Yochanan still talking. Maybe you're going to ask me, who told you it's Rabbi Shimon? Who told Rabbi Shimon is the one who said that? Maybe it's Rabbi Yehuda. He says, no, the Tani, Rabbi Chia bar Yosef kamed Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Chia bar Yosef taught Rabbi Yochanan. And noitlin, that is important, it's also in Sukkah, I think it's Beitz, I don't remember. Ein noitlin eitzim in a Sukkah b'Yom Tov, elam in a somuch lo. What does that mean? Let's say I want to build something out of wood, not to build on Yom Tov, you're not supposed to build on Chol HaMoed, yeah? We're talking actually on Chol HaMoed, not Yom Tov, for sure. It's Chol HaMoed, and you have a piece of wood that fell from the sukkah. Aracham Yokiv non Sukkos David Anoifolis, and it really was Noifolis. It fell, right? The sukkah fell, okay? Even in the middle of, this is even in the middle of Yom Tov, by the way. No, this part is even in Yom Tov, actually. In the middle of Yom Tov, the sukkah fell apart. You're not allowed to take eitzim, some wood from the sukkah, to burn them, to use them for something else. Ela minasomuchlo. Unless these are pieces of wood or bamboo or konim that were next to the doifen, next to the sukkah, even though they were meant to be used but not really used, that's not muktzeh. The Rabbi Shimon Matir, did you hear that? Rabbi Shimon says in the middle of Yom Tov, you have the sukkah that fell down, and you have some planks that are now fallen apart. You're allowed to take them in the middle of Yom Tov and use them. What's your question on that? We know Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold of muktzeh. The Gemara asks there in Beit Salamed, I think. The Gemara asks over there, what do you mean? That's like the big candle, right? We said that if you light a candle that has capacity to burn the whole Shabbos, and boom, in the middle it went out, even Rabbi Shimon agrees it's muktzeh, because your plan was the entire Shabbos will be out. So why is it by the sukkah? You thought the sukkah will stand there the whole Shabbos. So as Rabbi Shimon allowing you, if it fell apart surprisingly, why are you allowed to take it? Says the Gemara, the first Gemara, not Lom the Shachronim, not the Gemara here. The Gemara there, where I think it's in Beitza. The Gemara says, I saw it today in the afternoon. The Gemara says, no, we're talking about a sukkah that was about to fall. He had a very unsafe sukkah. Yeah? His wife said, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, but he knew that it's about to fall apart, or he had a chashash. So he pre-planned, if I have a sukkah, how nice. If it falls apart, I'll use it for the trees. In any way, Rabbi Shimon Matir, look at this now. V'shovin b'sukkah sachag b'chag shiasura. Up until now, my friends, we spoke about sukkah, not on sukkahs. Against what I told you. Up until now, we spoke about a sukkah. You happen to be sitting in a sukkah, Pesach, Shavuos, Stam, but sukkah's chag b'chag shiasura. Why? The sukkah of sukkahs during sukkahs, sukkah is called the chag, right? It's also to take it. Why is that? What's the difference? Muktzeh is muktzeh throughout all Yomim Tovim. Of course it's different. Why is it different? Because it's muktzeh lemitzvosoi. In Pesach and Shavuos, it's not muktzeh lemitzvosoi. See, if I overcame the problem of my plan, and I knew it's going to fall in the middle of Pesach, in the middle of Shavuos, better. Givaldig, I don't have to sit in the sukkah anyways. I might as well use it for whatever I want. I'm Reb Shimon, right? Mashenkin on sukkahs, if the same thing happened exactly the same on sukkahs, you're not allowed to use it because it's muktzah mitzvasoi. No other reason, because on sukkah it's mitzvah for the mitzvah of sukkah. The last time I checked, it's not a mitzvah to sit in sukkah on Pesach. And if you made a condition before, then it's all good. So what do you see? Here we see black on white, Rabbi Shimon, Matir, that accept Shchab Chag. What's shovin? What's shovin with sukkahs? That they both agree. Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. They both agree that mitzvah, muktzah mitzvah, so is muktzah. So not like you said. You told me you need both mitzvah and isur. Mitzvah is enough. Muktzah mitzvah is good enough a reason to set it apart from you. And says the Gemara, enachinami, she'ein shemen shebaner kamrinan, ho'il, listen carefully, ho'il v'huktzah lemitzvosoi, huktzah leisuroi. Let me explain. Therefore, we rephrase and reframe what we said before. And we did not need two conditions. We said, what are the muktzahs that are also according to Rabbi Shimon, even according to Rabbi Shimon, similar to Shemen Shebaner, and now we made a small but significant difference. Listen to this. Huktzah lemitzvosai and ha'il, therefore huktzah leisuroi, which means the one and only factor, huktzah lemitzvosai. Huktzah lemitzvosai, boom, you tick the box, done. It's muktzah. Therefore, huktzah leisura is not an additional thing. Therefore, it's muktzah as long as the isser is there, meaning as long as it's burning. Rabbi Shimon for you 100%. Rabbi Shimon was always, is, and will be the one that allows you to use an air once the candle is out, right? He says, as long as it's muktzah mitzvosai, huktzah for the period of time of isuroi, when it's still burning and lit and on, because then, it's just a definition. Instead of saying while it's burning, it's saying while it's isuroi. But it's not a condition that it has to be muktzah isuroi. We're phrasing it as long as it's burning, as long as it's osur. But it's not the point. The point, look at what Rashi says, not me, Rashi says, Huktzah Litzvosa, that's the only thing. Itmar Nami, and now we're going to see another statement to support that. Amar B'chia Barabba, Amar B'Yochanan, Ein Muktzeh Rabbi Shimon, Ela Ke'ein Shemen Shebaner, B'sha'o Shehu Doilek, lovely. Oil Huktzah Litzvosa, you set it aside not for shtuyot, for your own nonsense, but for, not nonsense, Chalila, not for your divrei rishus, yeah, but it's Muktzah Mitzvah, Huktzah Lisuroi. As long as the Isser is there, as long as it's burning, yeah, therefore, it's called Muktzeh Mitzvah, and you can't use, for sure, you can't use the oil inside the candle because it's kibui. You can't even use the oil underneath that's dripping because Muktzeh Lisuroi. Very, very nice. Now comes another question, and at the end, we'll have to see how to tie that with the story of what we saw before. Well, let's just see this for now. Amar Vidamar Shmuel. En Muktzeh Rabbi Shimon ela groigos v'tzimukim bilvad. Let me explain. Yeah. The only muktzeh that Rabbi Shimon believes in are groigos v'tzimukim. Groigos are dried figs. Tzimukim are raisins. Raisins are made in California, right? And they are dried what? Dried grapes. Only there are muktzeh. Can't have grapes and Shabbos. No, the pshat is as follows. The way they used to do it in the past, I don't know how to do it today. They would take the fresh, nice, let's say grapes, put them on the roof to dry, right? And then eventually, I guess there's a whole process. At the end of the journey, it's nice, crunchy little raisin. After it's been dried out, the whole process. Okay. So once you set it aside, you put it on the roof, muktzeh, even according to Rabbi Shimon. Why? That shouldn't be right, right? Says Rashi, groigos v'tzimukim have something interesting, that in the middle of the process, they become temporarily inedible. Get me? At the beginning, they're very nice, yummy, juicy grapes. At the end of the journey, they'll grow up very nicely, or they'll shrink very nicely. They become nice raisins, small and crunchy. Somewhere in the middle, they become physically inedible. That's what it's called. Obviously, that's called dichui, because it's mamish becoming impossible to eat. And in my mind, I set it aside to become inedible, right? And therefore, that, even Rabbi Shimon agrees, similar bit to dichui beyadayim, although not the same, right? We see that really this is bad news because you're setting it aside to make it inedible, impossible to eat. Even Rabbi Shimon agrees that's called muktzeh. Is that so? Other items that you set aside on the roof to dry, they're not called muktzeh according to Rabbi Shimon. V'atanya, look at the brisa. A person was eating te'enim. Hopefully he checked it for bugs, yeah? He ate some te'enim. The hoisir, this is important to know. The background story here is important. Originally he bought them in the market to eat. He ate too much, yeah? Too much sugar in the te'enim. Hoisir, Hasharaim, he has some leftover. So what will he do with the leftover? Vehelan lagag, lasas men groigos. He decided to take them up to the roof to make dried figs, to dry them into groigos, into dried figs. The same thing by Novim. The hoisir, vehelan lagag, lasas men tzimukin. Exactly the same story about grapes. He ate the grapes, went up with the leftover grapes to set them aside and make them into raisins. So then what do we say? Lo yoichal ad sheyazmin. Ooh, it's muktzeh. You're not allowed to eat them on Shabbos and change your mind in the middle of Shabbos unless you were mazmin them before Shabbos. Unless you decided before Shabbos, yeah, that these are good. Let's say you found them in good state. You went upstairs. Yeah, unless you were mazmin, which means unless you decided and you declared before Shabbos, I'm changing my mind and I'm going to eat them, otherwise they're muktzeh. So far, so good. Why? Because the groigos v'tzimukim, because in the middle they become impossible, inedible, they're out of my mind, really. But now comes bad news. V'chen ata omer ba'afarsekin, v'chavushin, u'b'sh'al kol minei peiros. The same applies to afarsekim. Yeah, Tosfos says, v'chen ata omer ba'afarsekim, the third to last Tosfos. Yeah, the afarsekim, which in modern Hebrew are peaches, maybe afarsekim means something else. Those things that you dry, they don't get that bad. And actually, the Gemara says at the end, all fruit, kol minei peros. And Rashi says, even though they're absolutely fine. Rashi, second to last Rashi, all other fruit you want to dry, papaya, mango, today they have everything dried. Yeah, I don't know, maybe your mango, even while it's in the middle of the process, it's still edible. Yeah? And yet we see that according to Rabbi Shimon, what do we say? That it is Muktzeh. You can ask why, but that's what it says, right? That's what it says here in the Brisa. Yeah. So one second. The question is obviously, who told you it's Rabbi Shimon? Why making things up? Well, it's obviously Rabbi Yehuda. Says it were no money. Who is it? Ilem Rabbi Yehuda? You would tell me that the author of this Brisa is Rabbi Yehuda, which obviously believes that if you set it aside, it's Muktzeh. It's not a Chiddush. Umay chadelo dachia beyadayim islay Muktzeh. That's pshat. The question is that the proof is as follows. As I told you, even if you're not doicha beyadayim, Tosfos gives examples and oitza, what I told you all the time. If I have a bottle of wine, and on Thursday I decided, that bottle of wine, I didn't do anything. I have a bottle of wine in my vitrina, wherever, and decided, told my wife, dear wife, this will be for our next grandson's bris. Boom, finished. According to Riddle, it's Muktzeh. I didn't do anything the other time, no. And it's still Muktzeh. So kol sheken, if I take it to the roof to make it into something else, of course it's Muktzeh. Rabbi doesn't need to tell me that. According to Rabbi, that's small money. I don't have to, that's not a chiddush, b'chlal. According to Rabbi, that's obvious. The kol sheken from the normal case of Rabbi Yehuda. Elalav, Rabbi Shimoni, I'm sorry. Masmitz Rabbi Shimon. And now, what's the havamina? That because you put it on the roof and you do something physical and you're trying to get it to become something else, what's that called? What we saw before? Dichu beyadayim. So maybe Rabbi Shimon believes that every dichu beyadayim is really muktzeh. And it says the Gemara, no, lo'olam Rabbi Yehuda. Lo'olam Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda, what's the chiddush? Really, Rabbi Yehuda is the Bala, a member of Bala Brisa that said that all the fruit that go upstairs to dry out are considered as muktzeh. What's the chiddush? The oichel itzrichalei, which means, remember I told you to remember the background story? What's the Brisa about? I'm eating grapes. Clearly, I'm eating them, enjoying them as they are, right? Now I put them on the roof. So what? Sal kedai techamina. So find a kuda. Kem de ka'achil va'ozil lolibai hazmona, which means, the way I understand it, I hope I'm not wrong, that's what I understood. When a person has grapes on the table, right, you're not doing anything with them. It's not so clear what he wants to do with them, right? And then if he set them in his mind to set them aside to eat them in 3 weeks' time, you can call that muktzeh for Rabbi Yehuda, right? Here he's eating them. His mamash eating them is more than just a part of situation. You know that I want them to eat. They're yummy and tasty and succulent and good, and I'm eating them. Eating is like the opposite of muktzeh. It's not in the middle of the road in a balanced way. It's very non-muktzeh. I'm using them, right? What's muktzeh? Set aside. What's non-muktzeh? Somewhere in the middle. When I'm eating something, that's the most anti-muktzeh. So havamina would be, because I'm eating them all the time, these are just leftovers. Maybe even though I put them on the roof, it's not called enough muktzeh. Because maybe they're still part of my achila. I'll regret it very soon. I'll get hungry again. I'll eat them again. I'm still be'etzem miyuchad for eating, which is the opposite of muktzeh. Ashmalano. Keva de'elan lagag. Asuch yaschel adaita minayu. Beautiful now, according to what we said. Once you put them on the roof, you are a mesiach das. You completely distracted yourself from them. Very, very nice. What did it tell you? The havamina is you eat the grapes, you put them on the roof, you're going to eat them very soon. How many times do you say, that's the last piece of cake, right, in the fridge? Another, to make the like cake look straighter and nicer, take another piece, to have a suffix in alamichya, right? So you never really set yourself aside. That was the havamina. But Shaken says, no. Even though you're eating them, but once you took them up to the roof, in order to make them really mamash, all different product, that's called Hesach Hadas and Muktzeh, but only according to Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi Shimon, though, Rabbi Shimon, as we actually said before also about the Tanagoyles, that, what did we say? The Dichui Beyadayim is not called Dichui according to Rabbi Yehuda, right? We said that before also with the chicken. Even if a person is Doiche Beyadayim, even according to Rabbi Shimon, it's not called Dichui. Only when we set it aside from it. So, L'maaseh, the two sugis, there are questions here, but this is how there are. They're reconciled well. Yeah? He set them aside for this, set them aside for that, even Beyadayim, Loch Patrim. Rabbi Shimon doesn't care. As long as it's a secular need, it's not called Muktzeh. It's not called setting aside enough, according to Rabbi Shimon, I said. Shimon. Only if you set it aside for mitzvah, that's called setting aside. Muktzeh, and that's halacha, by the way. We're slowly collecting, we paskin like Rabbi Shimon, and we still have a lot of Muktzeh in our lives. Muktzeh machmas gufay. Machmas chesron kis Tosfos said, because that really there's nothing you're using it for. Yeah, interesting. It's not mentioned here. I think here Muktzeh machmas chesron kis is not mentioned because we're not talking about kelim. We're talking more about foods. I would give the title Muktzeh in foods here. Yeah, to use the oil from sukkah and all that. And the third thing is we saw Muktzeh l'mitzvosai. That's halacha. In sukkah, you're not allowed to use something Muktzeh l'mitzvosai. You're not allowed to use to use the Muktzeh l'mitzvah for anything else. Even to remove them from the sukkah is a shayla in Yom Tov, as far as I know. Beseder, atzlocha uvrocha. Thank you. Shkoyach, Hashem. We're getting not the yun, but we're getting the taste. Okay, tomorrow. See you tomorrow as usual. What's tomorrow? Wednesday, Thursday. Oi. So next Sunday, Bezos Hashem, we're starting the new Perek Ravi, Atmono. Very fascinating Perek, all about matmin, hiding your food on Shabbos. Thank you very much. Atzlocha uvrocha. Thank you to everyone who watches us on YouTube as well. Thank you.